It has been a weekend which has seen the big boys send out some messages. It was Gary Anderson who claimed glory yesterday, sweeping through the field to pick up a title for the first time in well over a year for Gary Anderson. We have seen some new kids on the block make a name for themselves too, but today
85.
Nathan Aspinall has been the man to watch, certainly over the last hour or so, perhaps reaching heights that he didn't even know he had in his locker. And if he carries on in that zone, well, the world number 3, Gerwyn Price, might not stand much of a chance, Dan Dawson.
You will not say that about Gerwyn Price in many games nowadays.
60.
But Nathan Aspinall has been that good over the last 45 minutes or so. He has just demolished Gabriel Clemens 7-0 with 103 average. But the game that everybody is still talking about is his quarter-final win over Peter Wright, which we believe is the highest combined average that we've ever seen since the introduction of Dart Connect. So 131, essentially.
119.
231, I should say.
Yeah, Aspinall's contribution to that was an average of over 117. He had a 9-darter as well. We've had 5 9-darters on this opening weekend of floor tournaments. We are, of course, back for the second weekend next
57.
weekend in Wigan. But Aspinall has started where he left off, a hat-trick of 140s to leave 81.
Well, a single 15 will leave him
49. 3
clear darts at double 16 for what would be a break of throw. Gerwyn Price has been good today, but not
60.
great. Nowhere near his best. We've seen him win back-to-back Pro Tour titles, averaging over 100 for the day. It's not been like that today for him.
Well, he couldn't find the double 16, but he mops it up on double 8, and we will see in this match Aspinall using that section of the board to try and finish off legs, and Gerwyn Price going up for double top to try and win legs. Very much the pair's favourable doubles, and will have a big say in the outcome of this final.
140. 140.
He's got an excellent record in finals as Gerwyn Price. But this is an absolute assault from Nathan Aspinall, because it's a 26th 180 of the day for the Asp. His scoring visits so far in the first couple of legs, 4 140s and a 180. Nothing else. I needed it.
Well, that match against Peter Wright was a quarter-final. And we see players go into that kind of darting bubble, that zone as they call it, at times during matches. But on Pro Tour games, we so often see the next match after they've sat down, had a little practice, come back into the streaming booth or whatever board they're playing on, that level drops. He just went out in his semi-final and smashed Gabriel Clemens 7-0.
Yeah, Gabriel Clemens averaged 100 in that game. He was only allowed 3 or 4 darts at double. It was that good from the Asp. The scoring was great, but the finishing was clinical. 96. Now, is it going to be clinical here? It may need to be against the world number 3. Double top. He's hitting everything. He is hitting absolutely everything. It's only a brace of 15 darters, but it's good enough for a 2-0 lead.
99.
Gerwyn Price had to come back a couple of times from being behind against Dirk van Duijvenbode, who had never been in a semi-final before. This is a very different prospect against an in-form Aspinall. Certainly are looking at a couple of the premier players in World Darts. Of course, they will both be back in action on Thursday night in the Premier League in Nottingham.
Well, I predicted prior to the start of the Premier League that I thought that the Asp and the Iceman would both be in the top 4 come the end of the tournament, along with Michael van Gerwen and one other. Now, I may well be wrong, but if you want the reasoning for it, then just look at what these two have produced. Obviously, the semi-final run at the World Championship propelled Nathan Aspinall up to the number 8 spot in the world rankings. But 97. Prior to that, he was looking like one of the best players in the world anyway, all the way through last year.
Price at number 3 in the main order of merit. That would have been number 2, but for Peter Wright's Ali Pali glory.
60.
Peter Wright has sent out a few messages himself with performances, not least in defeat to Aspinall this afternoon. As I mentioned, Gary Anderson winning yesterday. The one man at the top of the deck that has
58.
struggled by his standards this weekend is Michael van Gerwyn, but he's philosophical about the first 3 months of this year, isn't he?
He is, but he's not used to not winning, is he? Not used to turning up to these Pro Tour weekends, not walking away with at least one of the titles. The Asp looks like he's going to see this incredible run of 11 consecutive legs that he's on at the minute brought to an end.
52 left.
Game shot.
And Price pops tops to end that quite remarkable run from the Asp. We've seen this quite a lot with Neff and Aspinall. He's just checking back with his first start. I think it's a sensible thing to do. If there is something that's not quite right, why not?
I think he's just got so many moving parts with his throw, but he's got that hop when he throws, which
60.
you know shouldn't. It should mean that it makes it very hard for him to replicate the same action. But he's become one of the world's best players while doing it. I don't think it's quite as pronounced as it used to be.
59.
I think if he's not quite fully set, then it can throw him off a little bit.
Yeah, it's something that you might start to attempt to stamp
83.
out when you're not playing so well, when you're not getting the results. But look, if it's working for him, carry on.
It is working overwhelmingly for Nathan Aspinall.
96.
He has won one of these titles before. In fact, it was that which kick-started everything, of course. It was 3 months before his debut at the World Championship, where he made the semi-finals and entered the big time. And, of course, it was a first-round game against Gerwyn Price at Ali Pali, where he came from 2-0 down, survived the dart to lose 3-0, won it 3-2, and has never looked back. A rare win for the Asp against the Iceman.
90.
Yeah, he does tend to win the big ones. You mentioned the World Championship one, also beat him in the semi-finals of the UK Open, which he won. As he looks at double 16, once again, can't
50.
find it. I would imagine Price will look at treble 17 here for 2 tops.
Can't produce it. It's always a threat with those sorts of shots. So good at hitting double top. Couple of them.
Game
Not
shot.
too much bother, but that's zero bother whatsoever for the Asp. 3-1 to the 28-year-old from Stockport. World number 8.
58.
And it would not surprise me if you see him climbing over the next 6 months in particular, where he hasn't got a great deal to defend.
60.
Yeah, 2 wonderful stories, really, isn't it? Those of this pair. Price, the former rugby player, turned darts pro, taken on a second professional sport, and will have a prolonged career in it, I'm sure. And Nathan Aspinall, who had next to nothing in his bank just a couple of years ago, when he went on and won that title you mentioned, ended up being a semi-finalist at the Ali Pali, a major champion, backed it up at Las Vegas
59.
last year as well, and then made the semis again in London in December.
Yeah, well, they're both great adverts for the routes to the top that they're on,
97.
because there's been so much talk about Q School and how, oh, well, we should be, getting rid of these chances who've got, never heard of or anything. Nobody had heard of Gerwyn Price when he turned up, came for Q School, won his card, and is now arguably he's in the top 3 in the world. Some people have been saying he's the best player in the world over the last few months. And Nathan Aspinall dropped off the tour entirely, used the Challenge Tour to come back and get to where he was, higher than he'd ever reached before, much, much higher.
100.
57. Double 10. Easy as you like for Gerwyn Price, who will not roll over for any opponent. Aspinall, some way off the
60.
astronomical standard that he produced in the quarter-final, but still looks cool, composed, producing good stuff. Could really turn into a
96.
brilliant battle, this one.
We've only seen Gerwyn Price really turn it on in one game today. That was in the quarter-final over Mickey Mansley, won that 6-0 with 106
57.
average, and that was with a real horror leg in the second leg, where they were both missing loads of doubles. Could have been 110s if it wasn't for that one.
177.
Here we go. The Iceman is warming up. But the fascinating stat that I like on Dart Connect, you can look at the
58.
averages that these guys have faced over the course of the day. They pull them all together to see what the average opponent they've been facing has been
96.
throwing at them. Price has been facing an average of just under 90. Aspinall has been facing an average of nearly 97. He has not had it easy today. I know Peter Wright's enormous average will have inflated that a bit, but he's had tough games and he's won them all.
56.
There is an opportunity for Aspinall to apply some pressure here, but this is on his own throw, so an important leg, perhaps in the context of this final, particularly if Price can win it.
88.
Well, two extremely wayward attempts at that segment, not a segment he opts to visit if he can help it. And Aspinall helps himself to a 93 checkout and helps himself to a two-leg lead.
Well, there's been some clinical stuff from Nathan Aspinall,
60.
particularly over the last hour or so. Against Clemens, he kept on shutting the door in his face, those little two-dart checkouts, combination finishes, they were just going.
140.
And that 93, well, the difference between 4-2 and 3-all is absolutely enormous.
180.
Bit of aggression from Price. This is certainly what I wanted to see. It can get feisty between these pair. They went back down.
177.
It's 15 maximums for Gerwyn Price over the course of the day. That's 10 fewer than that thrown by his opponent.
100.
So often we see players miss an opportunity to break and they're broken back in the very next leg. Bullseye to deny Asp the opportunity.
136.
Not there. And the Asp could go 5-2 up here. Crucial moment in the match.
Well, the pair have shared a joke. Not sure what was said, but it was the width of the wire that was a difference for Gerwyn Price there. And the difference could be enormous because it's very rare that the Asp does not deliver the dart into double 16 successfully, and he's done it again to open up a 5-2 cushion.
Nod of the head from Gerwyn Price. He knows what he's up against. I'm intrigued
130
to know if Gerwyn Price is aware of the stuff that Nathan has been doing, or whether he's just been in his own little zone, own little bubble. It's difficult not to with the crowds that were accumulating around that Peter Wright game.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? With the Dart Connect setup that we've had for the last couple of years, yeah, it really makes life easy for us as commentators. It makes the viewing experience more pleasurable for you, that you know the stats and what's going on, not just in the matches you're watching, but around the Pro Tour. But the players will get to know as well how well certain players are performing.
Well, it used to be just Kevin Painter strolling around going, oh, I've averaged 110 there, and somehow he's hit everything and beaten me, when Dart Connect came along and it kind of showed that those stories weren't necessarily true.
100.
Or the fabled practice game, as we call it.
120.
Great last couple of darts there. Leaves him on a two-dart checkout, Gerwyn Price. This would have really stung.
Well, it's no gimme for Gerwyn Price, this 100.
91.
How we would love to see this first dart fly plumbing the treble 20, but he's gone wayward, and now he needs to rescue himself. Treble double, can't manage it, and Aspinall is holding all the aces.
It's the pressure. Gerwyn Price is being put under enormous pressure, and Nathan Aspinall just cannot miss. There has only been one time in this game where Nathan Aspinall has come to the board, had a dart at a double, missed it, and allowed his opponent back, and he still won that leg. It is clinical. It is brilliant. It is the darts of one of the best players on the planet.
59.
I think that is a statement that can no longer be contested. And we were talking through the runners and riders for major honours this time yesterday, and we mentioned that the so-called Big Four right now, but certainly the likes of Michael Smith and Nathan Aspinall are knocking on the door of that, and we could really see, a year where each and every major title is shared between different players.
Absolutely.
180.
But I genuinely think that Nathan Aspinall, and this is not just born out of the events of the last hour and a half, this is born out of the
90.
events of the last year and a half. He looks like he could win anything. Everything.
Well, if we've just gone the last hour and a half, he will win everything, Dan.
Double 13. Oh, it's too good. It is too good from Nathan Aspinall. Gerwyn Price has a great record against the Asp, 8-3 in their head-to-heads. He has an incredible record in finals. He's only lost 6 out of the 15 he's been in. And the people who've beaten him, Van Gerwen a couple of times, Cross,
97.
Wright, real, greats of the game. And Nathan Aspinall, having made 3 finals in these events last year, lost all of them. He lost to O'Connor,
140.
he lost to Ratajski, he lost to Daryl Gurney. He's just had enough. Nathan has turned up and he is winning this match. There is no other outcome.
180.
Look at him go.
Yeah, to keep that level going throughout a testing day this afternoon at Barnsley. He was
100.
pushed to a last leg decider by Keegan Brown in his 3rd match. Averaged 103.3 in that one.
140.
Defeated Carl Wilkinson and Peter Jakes before then saw off a very tricky opponent in Jason Lowe. Before that stellar win against Peter Wright with the 117.5 average, and then 103 in the whitewash win in a semi against Gabriel Clements.
Oh, and he's missed a big number. After all of that, he has missed the 14 segment that would have given him a match start. Can Gerwyn Price
44.
deny the Asp match starts in this leg?
Well, it's double 13.
Game shot.
And back-to-back legs won on that particular double. Gerwyn Price stays alive and looks a happy boy to still be alive. Played in great spirit this one. We said it might get tasty. It's actually got very friendly down there.
I think Gerwyn Price just
59.
knows that he's up against a man who is in the zone. It's just bizarre that he missed that 14. I think had he got it, the chances of him pinning the ball were pretty
57.
high. He must be seeing it like a dinner plate, but there is still work to do. And I think back to Gerwyn Price in a final, one of these against
95.
Christoph Ratajski in Ireland the back end of last year, where it looked like one player was going to absolutely cruise it, and then things suddenly changed.
60.
That was when the Iceman won it 8-7. I think, did he win 5 legs on the spin at the end? It was something like that.
100.
And snubbed the handshake, didn't he?
Yes, yes he did.
You won't change him, Dan.
134.
You want to try?
No, absolutely not. Very much enjoy watching Gerwyn Price, and I think there's a significant
97.
number of people who are coming around to that way of thinking.
He's had his fair share of support in arenas of late. Gerwyn Price was beaten in the 3rd round yesterday by Gary Anderson. No one was stopping him
90.
pick up that title 24 hours ago. But he's bounced back and put himself in contention for a title this afternoon, just doing some sums.
96.
You cannot rule this out. Not with what he's been doing. You can now rule it out, irrespective of what he's been doing.
92.
14 tops to keep the entertainment going at least a little longer. But that could be that. Made a mess of the 84 when he had the match in the palm of his hand.
Game
But he gets a job done this time, and Nathan Aspinall puts the gloss on a quite brilliant day of darts. Picks up his first title of the season, his 4th in his PDC